Welcome back. In Unit 6 we explore networks. So we learn how to connect to Kali and to Windows remotely using various methods. And we also learn a bunch of new tools which can be helpful to store data, to compress data, and also to combine data into new files. Finally, we explore some fixes that are important in managing our sessions and also to make sure that our system is updated. I will break down this unit into several sessions and focus in the first part on common problems with the history file. You might have seen in a previous recording that when I opened the terminal, I received an error message at the top. I cleared that message, but actually it was there stating that my CSH file is corrupted. So to be precise, it stated CSH corrupt history file, and it provided a location of it. Now, this is a common issue that can happen for various reasons. Before we delve into this, it's important to note that because of recent updates to Linux, CSH files are the new files which are formerly called the bash files. So this is basically what you do when you type in stuff into the command line. So the idea of this history file is to basically have a record of what you do on the machine. Now this can be very relevant, in particular for some work on forensics. So you want to check what a user is up to, what actually happened in certain sessions. So we have to make sure that our history file is not corrupted, otherwise there might be an issue there. Now the following is a nice fix which I found online. Again, whenever you have a problem, I think it is quite an obvious solution to go to your favorite search engine and look for it. There is a big online community on Linux and also on Kali Linux. There are a few really good websites. So one I want to stress is the work done by George Ornbo and the related GitHub pages. Also Michael Kovarisk, I think I mispronounced his name, apologize for it, has an excellent online repository of various Linux commands. So you find that as well. Actually, it's on the slides, where you can look for, in fact, the Linux manual, but also you can have access to this through Linux as well, which I will show you in this session. Now, when you do a change directory and you just leave it blank or you use the tilde, you go, as you know, into your home directories. If you do a pwd, you can just print where you are, so you're now in home and captain. We know the ls command. If I combine it with L, you get a list. If I add the A, I get all the hidden files. This is what we need right now. And when we have now a list of files, you also remember, hopefully, a bit about the structure in here. So you have some directories, and you see directories start here with a D, and then you have further information after that, and we will come to this in a later session, because actually there you get information about permissions, and we will talk about permissions in Unit 6 as well. Now in here you find the history file, so that's the history file, and we can just have a little look using our cat, for instance, to, if I type it correctly, to read the file. So it's .z/sh, and then it's already auto-completed. If you want to accept the auto-completion, you just take the key with the right arrow, and that will simply bring you to the end of the line and you execute. So in here you see actually all the things I have done. Yeah, so quite a few things. Lots of these things will come up in Unit 6, so lots of stuff actually is going on. So the history file is working fine. But in case there is an error, what you need to do is you have to basically move your history file to another location and take all the content out of it, move it into a new file. So I will just show you the principle, and it's quite a nice thing because you actually then start practicing some of these commands. So first we take the mv command. Now the mv command is a command for moving files, but also for renaming files. Yeah. So in here I could do the following. Actually it's already auto-completed, so I do .csh underscore history and then .csh history old. Yeah, so this is what I do. So basically I rename the file, my history file, and I rename it to the underscore old file. If I execute that and do another ls command and have a look at it, I see now here my history file being renamed to history with the underscore old. Yeah, so that's looking quite good. That's actually quite helpful. Yeah, excellent. I just zoom a bit. It might be better for you to see that using Control Shift and equal to sign. Then the next thing we do is we want to move our history old file into a history file. So I just kind of take it back in, taking all the content from that file. And this is using the strings command. So the strings command basically reads your file, takes all the characters of it and copies that into a new file. And what you see in this command is also what is called redirection. Now redirection moves outputs from a command to a file or from a file to a command. So you basically shift things between different entities, shall we say. So I will talk about redirection a bit more in a later session, but that's basically what we are doing here. If you don't know a command, it's quite nice just to use the manual. So just type in man, and there you can just type in either, you can search for, if you don't know the command name, you can just use the K option and simply ask for a particular keyword. So for instance here, we already know what we are looking for using the strings. So if I just type in string here, it should search it and should come up with a few options. So here you have all sorts of commands linked to strings, including here the strings command, so to print a sequence of characters in files. So this is the one we are looking for. So if you go to strings, you have a description of all the different options. So that is kind of really helpful. So whenever you're not very sure about the options, because to be honest, there are so many commands, it's completely a pointless exercise to memorize all of it. I only know maybe about 50, 60 important commands, and the rest you always have to anyway look up because you certainly forget. Now strings helps me to basically take some characters and move these characters maybe to another file. So that's kind of a useful thing we need in this particular case. Yeah. Good, so that we just use now. So I continue with strings. I use, and actually it's already auto-completed because I typed this before, so what I do is I use the option E and S, and you can actually figure this out in the manual. I take the old renamed history file and put it into the original history file, which is then created. So basically that is a copy, like a copy of content command. So we do that, we go back to our ls command, we again display the hidden files using the A option, and now you see our old history here and our actual history file there. So that tends to already fix the problem. What you then can do is you can re-execute the command. So whenever you, for instance, look for execute a command and you want to re-execute after modifications, you can use the fc command, the option R, and then you go back to your history file and you just execute that. So whenever you reopen now your terminal, the initial message that your history file is corrupted should disappear. So that's a way of fixing that. Okay, so now what I can do is I can simply again have a little look at my history file and see what happens. Yeah, so that looks actually quite promising. So here are all the commands I have used, and you see it's getting quite busy. Okay, so that is kind of a nice thing of you know, if you have this issue and you can also fix it. Again, if you want, you can remove the old file if you don't need it anymore. So we can just do this using the rm command. We have used that before. So again, if you just check, you now have the standard history file, and the old history file has been removed. So that's kind of useful. We already used now the manual function, which is a nice command just to simply look at the manual, and with the K option you can simply, you know, look for certain things like counting, for instance, counting the number of words or instances, and you can see what are the related commands. Like here, for instance, the sum command, and if you look at one particular command, you see various options that you can use, and also how it could be applied, and that I think is kind of quite useful. You have further links if needed for full documentation, so that's kind of nice to have. Q is simply the quit commands. It gets you back into your original shell. So that's quite a useful exercise. If you know a command, say ls, you know ls obviously, we can use simply the -h for help, and that if it's implemented, that will give you further options usually. So we can have a little look at the menu. Let me just do this of ls. It will give you a full list. Here we go. So it gives you a full list of all the different options you have, and there are quite a few. And you see, which is a little bit annoying, which I just noticed, that -h in this particular case already is an option, and it was executed. So it's human readable option. Which is not very common, so that is sometimes something that happens. So for instance, if we go for a different command, say the touch command, so touch is to create files, we used it before, we do -h, we get the help function, and it tells you now that sometimes you might need to use the -help instead. So that depends on the respective command. We just simply do this, and that gives you access to the help function, and here you see actually all the options popping up. Yes, it could be either -h or -help. That's something you have to try and see what happens. We try something else. For instance, we remove file command. Let's just try this, and again it doesn't like it, so we do ---- help, and here we are. So we get a description of various options and brief description based on what you also find in the manual. So that's kind of useful if you are unsure about a certain command, or if you want to look into additional options that potentially might be helpful. Good. Now, for instance, if you want to locate a file and you don't know where this file is saved, and you don't know what command you might like to use, the most plausible thing to try is to use the manual and then the K option, and then you can put in maybe location as a keyword, and you see what happens. Yeah? It does not always give you amazing results. In this particular case, it's not really what you're looking for, so you might need to modify this into maybe locate, see what happens, and then you get more findings here. You can just look through that, and you here find files by name. That looks interesting, so that's plocate, and also here you have locate, find files by name. Also this looks promising, so if you do simply that, you move into your manual and you see actually various descriptions plus options. Yeah, so that is kind of useful. Okay, so we might use that to locate certain files if we are unsure about them. Okay, so I think we have covered this issue of corrupted history files. We talked a bit about commands. I already mentioned something about so-called redirection. We looked at the help option, which is usually --help or sometimes -hatch, depending on the command. It will basically tell you. We looked at the manual and we saw actually how we can use that to look for commands. The same manual is also available online, as you have seen. Good. So these are the first things that we need to work on, and in the next short session we look into how we archive files.